humble honeybee, selfless, tireless and hard-working. In our search for a natural remedy to infertility, we discover that they are also responsible for giving us not one, but two fertility-specific superfoods. And seeing as their nutritional, medicinal and physiological benefits are well documented, we want to know, does bee pollen and royal jelly aid fertility as well? Chiang Mai lies approximately 700 kilometers north of Bangkok. Almost 70% of Chiang Mai's land is covered by mountains and forests. Such vast areas of natural forests, horticulture, along with the tropical weather, make Chiang Mai an ideal place for beekeeping. Our crew sets off on a 3-hour drive from Chiang Mai to Chiang Rai in the wee hours of the morning in search of bees. They eventually find bee farmer Mr. Jeroen Nawaja, who's been keeping bees for 7 years, and hope he can tell them more about bee pollen and royal jelly. Jeroen's bee farms are not your typical farms. For one thing, their location isn't fixed. And depending on the season, they are always moved to new locations. Where he moves his farms to depends on a few factors. A readily available food source. In this particular case, a longan plantation he rented from a local farmer, and the distance from his other farms. Jeroen has to ensure each farm is at least 1 kilometer from another to avoid a situation where his bees compete for food with one another. And a bee's food, of course, comes from flowers. Flowers harness the energy from the sun, carbon dioxide from the air, and nutrients from the soil. The rich nectar they manufacture is in turn harvested by bees to use as food, as well as to produce the numerous things bees are commonly well known for: honey, propolis, royal jelly, and bee pollen. Bee pollen, sometimes known as ambrosia, is commonly and widely used in naturopathic traditional medicines and as a nutritional supplement. Bee pollen is a mixture of pollen from flowers, a bee's digestive juices, and nectar. Bee pollen is rich with sex hormones, fat, vitamins, minerals, and nutrient materials that are essential for promoting a healthy life and nourishing growth, and can be eaten raw or dried to make candy and added to coffee as a natural sweetener. Dr. Chayong has been studying the effects of bee products and is a firm believer in its benefits towards our health, general well-being, and of course, fertility.
We can find flavonoids in propolis and bee pollen as well, which has the anti-inflammatory effects. Besides inflammatory effects, they have the analgesic effect. They have the antibacterial effects. And also for propolis and royal jelly, there are some kind of compounds maybe we cannot identify yet, but it exerts or it shows the effect, and it has energy. So it gives you energy to survive and to struggle against the disease, and it makes the body ready for the baby.
Dr. Chayong's findings are indeed encouraging, and it seems more and more people are beginning to agree. Demand for bee products has been steadily increasing, and Jeroen's humble business, which he started with just 3 bee boxes 7 years ago, has grown to a staggering 700 boxes today. Back on the farm, preparations are being made to harvest bee pollen. First, a bit of smoke to clear the way. Contrary to popular belief, the bees themselves are relatively harmless. Chasing them away with smoke is for their safety, not the farmers. With most of the bees safely out of the way, the workers can go about their business, opening the boxes and retrieving the pollen. It's also a good time to note that these boxes are specially designed and constructed and are an important and integral part of bee farming.
นี้เก็บบีโพเลนก็คือตอนนี้เพิ่งมาออกรังตอนเช้านะฮะออกรังตอนเช้าแล้วก็เอาตรงนี้ไปดักไว้ฮะซึ่งมันก็จะบินลอดออกตรงรูนี่นะครับซึ่งมันจะบินลอดออกไปตัวเปล่าๆของมันพอมันไปเก็บโพเลนที่ดอกนะฮะดอกเมลิล่าเคลียร์นะฮะมันติดขามันก็กลับมาเขาก็ลอดตรงนี้พอดีรูตรงนี้มันพอดีตัวเขาพอดีแล้วก็โพเลนมันติดขาสองข้างใช่ไหมครับพอเขาลอดออกไปโพเลนมันก็หลุดแล้วมันก็ล่วงลงตรงนี้ฮะล่วงลงตรงที่ตะแกรงข้างล่างนี้มันก็ไปกองอยู่ในเขาเรียกว่าอะไรนะฮะในถาดของมันนะครับ
The bees must truly be thankful for their custom-built home. Although they'd better be careful not to gain too much weight, or they won't be able to fit through those customized holes. Bee pollen isn't the only bee product Jeroen is in the business of manufacturing. Much of his time is also devoted to producing royal jelly. The crew follows Jeroen to another of his mobile farms to find out exactly how royal jelly is produced. Though they come from the same animal, royal jelly is markedly different from bee pollen, and the steps involved in producing and harvesting royal jelly have also been carefully designed and meticulously managed. These boxes are also custom-built for harvesting royal jelly. Each box contains several beehive racks. Each rack holds 100 cup-shaped structures, and each cup holds one queen larva. This is important because worker bees produce royal jelly to feed not only the queen bee but also her successors. Queen bee breeding then is the key to a successful royal jelly harvest.
ทีนี้อายุของนางพญานี่ก็อยู่ได้นานครับนาน 4-5 ปีแต่เราจะใช้ไม่ได้เพราะว่าถ้าข้ามปีไปแล้วนางพญาก็จะเสื่อมคุณภาพคือไข่น้อยลงนะครับไข่น้อยลงแล้วก็ต้องเปลี่ยนแล้วก็จะสังเกตดูสีของนางพญาถ้าสีเขาเข้มขึ้นสีดำเข้มขึ้นก็ถือว่าแล้วก็ภายในรังนี้ก็ไข่ก็น้อยลงแล้วก็ต้องเปลี่ยนนะครับถือว่าหมดอายุครับเพราะตอนที่เราจะแยกหรือเราจะเปลี่ยนนางพญานี้ก็บางครั้งที่เราเพาะไม่ทันก็ต้องอาศัยนางพญาธรรมชาติ
Therefore, Jeroen has to breed thousands of potential queen bees in order to stimulate worker bees to produce more royal jelly. Even though the worker bees seem to be doing all the work, the survival of the hive in fact rests solely on the queen bee. Because while a queen bee will rule a hive an average of 5 years, worker bees live only 9 weeks, and if they're not continuously replaced, it will result in the death of the hive. So, laying almost 2,000 eggs a day, every day, the queen supplies the hive with a steady workforce of workers and drones who, in turn, take care of the hive's every need. But bee breeding is a delicate balancing act. If Jeroen is careless and allows another queen bee to become developed and fully grown, the new queen will leave the present hive to set up her own, taking an army of worker bees with her and reducing the present population. But for all this talk about bees, bee breeding and bee products, we've yet to find out if they do anything at all to aid fertility. In Singapore, Dr. Chen Li Chung specializes in fertility treatment and offers his take on the matter.
Falling pregnant is a statistical probability, and that probability depends on the age of the woman. As she gets older, the likelihood of pregnancy naturally will decline. Before we declare a couple to have a fertility problem, they must have been trying for a certain period of time first. Because of the natural decline of age, we normally set 35 years of age to be a trigger point. For women who are below 35, we normally allow them to try for up to 2 years. And if they can't get pregnant, then we will need to look into fertility problems. For women who are over 35, because fertility is already declining, we normally set it at 1 year. That means if they can't get pregnant after a year, then we should then implement measures to look into causes of not ability to conceive. Instead, I try to crystallize it into 6 main points that may result in fertility problems. Firstly, problems relating to sperm quantity. Secondly, problems relating to egg development. Thirdly, problems relating to poor timing or mistiming of intercourse. Fourthly, problems related to diseases of the fallopian tube. Fifthly, problems relating to fertilization. It means the ability of the sperm and egg to come together and to fertilize. And finally, the 6th point, problems relating to implantation. It means the inability of the womb to hold a pregnancy, or the inability of the fertilized egg to latch onto the womb and grow from there. So if any problems affect these 6 factors, then a state of infertility may result.
With so many things to take note of, it's no wonder that issues with fertility, pregnancy and conception can and does often affect a great number of men and women alike. And what does Dr. Cheng think about natural remedies such as bee pollen and royal jelly that claim to boost fertility?
All drugs that we use, I guess, have their roots in plants, but in the drugs that we use are highly refined, purified, and concentrated. You see, so I'm not surprised, that people who use the actual plants themselves and to treat problems, may result in effective treatment. As far as I'm concerned, if patients come to me with such treatments, if it's at a very preliminary level, if I'm not actually intervening a lot, I have no major objections if they want to try it. But once we go to the more advanced forms of fertility treatment where we are giving much more powerful drugs, then I would prefer, that there's less of these other drugs because of the risk of drug interaction, which may result in unexpected effects or undesirable effects, and that may compromise the chances of successful treatment.
Indeed, there are many who have experienced firsthand the effectiveness of natural remedies and unabashedly attest to its contribution in helping them conceive. Mrs. Angwara is one such person, and it's easy to see why. But just how true are these first-hand accounts? Does bee pollen and royal jelly really improve fertility? Royal jelly and bee pollen have been rumoured to improve not only one's health, but also to increase one's fertility. And we've come to Chiang Mai, Thailand, to meet Mrs. Angwara, one such person who owes her happy family life to these natural remedies. Mrs. Angwara used to suffer persistent chronic headaches and dizzy spells as a result of her general poor health, which made it very difficult for her to conceive. But after taking royal jelly and bee pollen supplements, her health began to improve and she was finally blessed with her second child.
ก็เพราะว่าในตัวโยนิดจากที่ศึกษามานะคะมันจะเสริมในเรื่องของฮอร์โมนทั้งเพศหญิงเพศชายอย่างเราเนี่ยมีปัญหาในด้านของเลือดใช่ไหมคะมันก็อาจจะเข้าไปช่วยเสริมในเรื่องของภูมิต้านทานแล้วก็ช่วยสร้างเม็ดเลือดของเราเนี่ยให้มันดีขึ้นแล้วก็อาจจะทำให้ในร่างกายของเราฮอร์โมนมันสมดุลขึ้นแล้วก็เขาเรียกว่าทำให้ไข่ค่ะมันตกรอบตรงกับในแต่ละเดือนแล้วก็เวลาที่เราต้องการจะมีบุตรเนี่ยมันก็ง่ายต่อการปฏิสนธินะคะแล้วก็เวลาเราทานเนี่ยเราคิดว่ามันน่าจะดีต่อลูกเรานะลูกเราน่าจะแข็งแรงขึ้นแต่ว่าเราก็ทานตัวนี้อยู่แล้วแต่ว่าอาจจะไม่ได้มากก็คือทานเพื่อสุขภาพก็คือวันละ2 เม็ดใช่ไหมคะแต่พอเราเริ่มที่อยากจะมีลูกก็อาจจะเพิ่มเป็นวันละ4 เม็ดเพื่อที่ว่าเสริมให้ร่างกายเราสมบูรณ์มากยิ่งขึ้นนะคะในเรื่องของหมอนี่ไม่ได้ไปหาก็คือตอนที่ท้องแล้ว
Mrs. Angmora has been taking bee pollen and royal jelly supplements for 4 years now and believes firmly in their beneficial properties as a health and fertility supplement. Presented with her compelling first-hand account, we leave Mrs. Angmora and her family better equipped to understand the benefits of royal jelly and bee pollen. It's barely daybreak, and work on the farm has already begun. Today, Jarun is harvesting royal jelly. It's a delicate and meticulous process and has to be done completely by hand. First, after the bees are cleared, the racks are removed from the boxes, and any remnants of the old hive are removed and cleaned. Cleaning involves clearing out not only the rack, but each individual cell so as to expose the royal jelly hidden inside. With each rack holding 100 tiny cells, the work is extremely delicate, time-consuming, and labor-intensive. But the work is well worth it, as finally the path to the royal jelly is clear, and it can at last be collected. Royal jelly is rich in vitamins A, B, C, D, and E. It also contains a myriad of minerals, including calcium and iron, all of the essential amino acids, boasts antibacterial properties, and is known to stimulate and bolster the immune system. But harvesting the royal jelly is only the beginning. After it's collected, preparations are immediately made for the next harvest. Recall that worker bees feed royal jelly only to the queen bee and her larva, so the presence of healthy embryos is a crucial, if not the most important step in royal jelly production.
ไฟฉายนะครับไว้สำหรับส่องดูหนอนที่อยู่ในแผ่นนี่นะครับแผ่นผึ้งเนี่ยครับไว้ส่องหนอนเสร็จก็เคลียร์ขึ้นมาทำเอาใส่ในรูเนี่ยครับรูหลอดนะครับเพื่อจะดักเอานมผึ้งนะครับ
Now that the harvest is finally complete, all that's left is to process the raw royal jelly into tablets so that they can easily be consumed.
Flavours Royal Jelly.
Royal jelly is highly perishable and undergoes a variety of chemical changes that reduce its beneficial effects. So the harvest needs to be properly and immediately stored at -10 degrees Celsius until it is ready to be processed.
Flavours Royal Jelly ยังไม่ได้เข้ากระบวนการที่ทำแห้งนะคะเป็นสดนี้ก็สามารถรับประทานได้
There are many ways in which royal jelly can be used and consumed. It can be used as ingredients in other food products, such as in honey or yogurt. And of course, it can be consumed as a supplement in the form of capsules or tablets. Though science has yet to fully understand and unlock the mysteries of royal jelly, there are consumers who believe that royal jelly does indeed improve one's health and one's fertility. Chantira has been married 2 years now, and with her healthy 5-month-old child, leads a happy, healthy life. Yet, Chantira wasn't always the picture of good health, and had once even suffered a heartbreaking miscarriage. Indeed, it was royal jelly that turned her life around.
เคยแท้งลูกอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแล้วก็อยากมีลูกก็เลยลองกินทางญาติก็แนะนำให้กินอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็คือเริ่มแรกตอนที่ยังไม่ได้กินนะคะเวลาทำงานเสร็จแล้วก็จะมาเลี้ยงลูกก็รู้สึกว่าเหนื่อยจะเพลียอย่างเงี้ยค่ะตอนตื่นเช้าอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแต่พอได้เริ่มกินก็จะรู้สึกว่าจะกระปี้กระเป๋าอะค่ะจะไม่เพลียในการหลังจากการทำงานมาแล้วอย่างเงี้ยค่ะ
With her spirits riding high, Chantira is already making plans for the future.
ก็คืออยากจะมีอีกสักคนค่ะก็คือจะมีสัก2 คนให้เป็นพี่น้องกันแล้วก็คิดว่าตัวนี้ก็น่าจะเป็นส่วนหนึ่งที่จะทำให้เรามีน้องอีกคนหนึ่งได้ค่ะ ประมาณ9 เดือนค่ะแล้วก็ทานแล้วประมาณ9 เดือนแล้วก็เริ่มตั้งครรภ์คนที่2ที่เกิดออกมาเนี่ยค่ะก็จะมีคุณพ่อคุณแม่ทานค่ะแนะนำให้ทานแล้วก็จะมีญาติที่อยู่ต่างจังหวัดอะค่ะ
We've tasted the fiery goodness of psylli and enjoyed the sweetness of bee pollen and royal jelly. And while these natural remedies do seem to alleviate the conditions of infertility for some, others believe it is in their contribution to improving and supplementing one's overall health and wellness that remains the most beneficial and crucial reason for consuming them. But the crew's journey is far from over. They've caught wind of yet another food that could aid fertility, and so make haste to continue their investigation. In Salem, India, there grows a versatile plant that can be used in 101 different ways. Herbs and spices are often used to give a dish its personality or to add that extra punch. And nowhere is this more true than in Indian cuisine. Yet herbs and spices do more than just give food some added flavor. In the case of the moringa leaf, it's been said to cure infertility as well. Salem is a city, a corporation in Salem district in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu and is located in the northern central part of the southernmost state of India. It's surrounded by a natural amphitheatre of hills and sits at the base of the renowned tourist destination of Yakkaud Hills. Though Salem in recent years has enjoyed much economic growth, it still remains a traditionally agricultural land and is also home to a wider variety of distinctly Indian herbs and spices. A lawyer by profession, Mr. Jai developed a keen interest in Indian herbs and medicines and has been in the business for over 8 years, mainly supplying chemicals derived from plant extracts to all over the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. His most recent interest, however, is the moringa leaf, or Indian drumstick, and he's quick to sing its praises.
முருங்கா லீவ்ஸை பொறுத்தவரைக்கும் 2000 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடியிலேருந்தே எல்லாருமே நம்ம ஃபுட்டில் வந்து வச்சுருக்கோம். இந்த முருங்கா லீவ்ஸை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எல்லா விதமான நியூட்ரிஷன்ஸ் எல்லா விதமான விட்டமின்ஸும் இதில் அடங்கியிருக்கு. இதை வந்து எல்லாரும் லேடிஸ்லாம் எடுத்துக்கிறதுனால அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ரெகுலர் மென்சுலேஷன்ஸ் ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லாமல் வந்துட்டு இருக்கு. அதெல்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இது ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒரு இது என்னென்னா அவங்களுக்கு ஹார்மோன் ஸ்டிமுலேஷன்ஸ்ன்றது வந்து ஒரு பங்காக கிடைக்குது. இந்த ஹார்மோன் ஸ்டிமுலேஷன்ஸ் வரும்போது இன்ஃபர்டிலிட்டி ப்ராப்ளம் வந்து எந்த ஒரு லேடிஸ்க்குமே வரதில்லை.
Though the immature green pods are arguably the most valued, widely used and flavorful part of the tree, the flowers, roots, seeds, bark, sap and of course leaves are also highly prized. They are commonly used in soups and sauces, as edible oil, fertilizer and even as part of a blue-colored dye. Although the locals have been using and consuming moringa leaves and fruits for many centuries now because of its well-known richness in antioxidants and vitamins, the added myth that it also cures infertility could never be verified. However, recent studies to prove the effectiveness of moringa in treating infertility have produced encouraging results. As a result, some doctors are now beginning to embrace this form of treatment. Dr. Manoranjani, a duty medical officer in Dharan Hospital, who specializes in cases involving infertility in women, shares her insight.
Moringa leaves helps to encourage fertility, menstrual disorders. It is mainly used for increase the hormonal secretion.
Dr. Manoranjani has been actively prescribing moringa leaves to her patients, one of whom is a 30-year-old housewife, Rajamani. Today, Rajamani has come with her mother to the village temple to offer prayers. She has been offering this prayer religiously every Friday. She hopes the gods will bless her with a child.